Morning, everyone. Welcome to this session. So I know I'm sat down, so I'm going to be sat down for the entirety of this. So I'm going to stand up and wave and say hello. I'm Paul. You're here for the live coding session, hopefully. If not, there are many other good talks on at the same time, so you may have come to the wrong room. This is going to be a different kind of session to the ones that have gone on previously. So Sam and I were drinking at Dreamforce last year, which is how all good stories start. And we were saying that there was a lack of sessions where you just actually saw someone sit down and code and build something and got to see the thought process behind it, got to see things go wrong, and got to see how you kind of overcame some of those problems and kind of stuff like that. So as often happens after a couple of drinks, you say, yeah, we should do that. And he said, well, I'm organizing this event again, and I'm in charge of submission, so you should probably submit that. And I said, yeah, that's great. And then about 3 weeks later, got an email from Simon saying, so what are you doing for this live coding session again? And I was like, what? So this is where we're at. So today we're going to build a couple of apps. So we're going to build a Node.js app and deploy it to Heroku. And that app is going to take in a little string of text. It's going to be the world's worst looking web page ever. All it's going to be is a button and an input field. We're going to get some text. We're going to send that over to Salesforce using a platform event. Very exciting, eh? We're going to capture that platform event in a trigger. I'm expecting some oohs and ahs as we go throughout this, okay? And then we're going to send that over to Watson. Thank you. Right. Watson, as you can see at the top, is going to take that text, turn it to speech, and return us an MP3 file. We're going to save that in Salesforce, send out another platform event, and then our Lightning component is going to capture that, display a little link for us, and we're going to be able to listen to the audio. That's the idea. Thank you. That's the idea. We have 40 minutes, 39 minutes, to build as much of that as possible together. I've done this once just to make sure that I found out all the stupid shit that you can't do, like also playing audio in Lightning components, because that would have been a good hour and a half of us just sat in this room debugging why that's not working. So the aim here is we're going to go through and build it. Hopefully I know enough of what I'm doing that we can keep on going forward. If we get stuck, we're going to debug this together. And I'm going to try and share with you some of my thought processes as I go through. And this is a very honest set of thought processes as well, because as you can see, I already have all of the documentation for different things open. So first thing we're going to do is build our Heroku app. So I always build things in the order of the process I'm doing because I'm simple like that. I've got a blank folder here called London's Calling. As you can see, there's nothing in that folder. And what we're going to do is we're going to initialize a new Node.js package. So we're going to call it London's Calling 2018. And we're just going to effectively, of course it is. There you go, first error we found. And we're just going to hit enter for everything because that's nice and easy. And we've just set up a new folder. Okay? And it's got package.json in there. And that's it. Okay, so we've officially got a Node.js app now. First thing we want to do is install some dependencies. So I like to use Express for doing any sort of API or Node.js work because it's super simple and it makes just doing a lot of the routing and lifting easy. So we're going to do npm install and we're going to type it properly. So you get to see me type like a muppet all morning as well. We're going to use the save flag, so it saves it to the package file, and we're going to install Express. And that's going to go away and do so in the background. So whilst some of these things are going on, I'm going to ask daft questions like, who here's actually written a Node.js app before? That's a good half the room, or more. That's very useful. So you guys can help make sure I do this properly. So we're going to make the index.js file. And we're going to start working in this. So first thing we want to do is obviously make sure Express is in there. So we're going to require Express. Nice and easy. We're then going to have an app that is going to be our actual app. Nothing overly exciting at the moment, I don't feel. I'm going to keep on looking at this iPad here because it does have my flow notes on there because I'm bound to get lost. So we've got what we need there. We probably need path as well. because that's going to be useful for us. And I think that's probably us set up on that front. What else do we need to do? Got the app, got path. Do we need anything else? No, that's pretty much it. So we're going to, first of all, just do our default route. Okay, so our default route is the root of every web page, which is just /. Okay, so we're going to do a GET request for /. And there's going to be a function, and every Node.js express routing function has a request and a result that comes in, and we're going to jump over here, and you can see here that it's nice and simple of how all this stuff works. Okay, so we're just doing effectively this little bit here, right? And at this point, I will tell you that every time I've written a Node.js app, I have gone to the documentation, and I have gone, what was the syntax again? And I've gone and found this. So we'll do that. We're going to be sending back a static file because we're going to be using an index.html file. So we have our function, and we're going to do result.sendFile. Oh, look at this. It's actually got it in there for us. And we're going to use the dir name because we're in JavaScript, and it's going to be /index.html. Okay? Everyone kind of cool that that is just sending back an index.html file? Yeah? Sweet. And that's it. What stuff do we need to do? So we need to start the Node.js thing. So we're going to do app.listen. And yeah, what's really nice apparently is that I've got autocomplete on a lot of this stuff. So port number, so we're just going to have a port. So I'm just going to put port in there. And that's it. I don't think I need anything else. Oh yeah, we're going to output some console login maybe. So everyone familiar with what fat arrow functions are? Yeah, they're kind of lambdas, yeah. So this is just something I'm going to put like we're listening so that when I start up the application, I know where we're listening, okay? Because again, we're going to need that. So got everything running there. The only piece we're missing, everyone's going to realize, is that we're referring to something called port. And I'm going to type it as post every time, and we're going to use process.env.port or 5000. So process.env is the JavaScript process runtime, so it basically gets environment variables for us, okay? So when we're on Node.js, we're on Heroku, we can put config vars in. We're looking for something on there. Heroku always sets it to port 5000 for Node.js, so you have to bind to that port, otherwise Heroku starts to cry. So we're just going to go out and do it like do it as is there anyway. I'm also going to touch index.html, and I'm going to actually do that properly. So I would be 10 times better a developer if I could actually type.
You can do bang and double tab, and 10 minutes will complete the code.
And what will it complete?
Exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Double tab. No, clear everything.
Okay. I'm going to learn something now.
Double tab.
Oh, wow. Sorry, what's your name so we can get that recorded that you do?
Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor. That's fantastic. All right, well, yeah, there you go. Someone knows what we're doing at least. Oops. As you can see, it evidently isn't me. So let's just put in the body here, hello, London. I'm going to hit save, and now we're going to run this. So we're going to do node index.js. And you can even see that I've got a typo. I don't know if you can see down here at the bottom of the terminal. I've spelled the word on incorrectly. That's how well this is going so far. But if we go to localhost 5000, way, come on. We've got something running. I didn't really feel that you were bought into that then, people. So we've got an app that's actually serving up an index page. Next thing we want to do is an input field, and we want to capture some text and send it back. Okay? So first thing we're going to want is an input, and it's going to have type text. I will spell text and not test at some point, and that's really intriguing. So yeah, that's our input, and then we're going to have a button, which I'm going to put a line break in because I'm doing terrible things with HTML. Equals button, click me, and then input. Right. Everything good so far? Everyone confident that this is still going to run for us? So again, refresh that. Ooh, okay. I've got my formatting wrong. What have I done wrong here, people? This is basic HTML.
Input is self-closing, actually.
All right, one person, as there was 9 things, and I'm not that smart to listen here.
Input is self-closing. You don't need to put the slash input on the...
Ah.
And actually, input button means you have to put value in to make sure the click me is on the button.
You can tell I'm too busy using Salesforce where you're not allowed to do that.
And you also don't need to have the slash because it's going to be HTML5, so you don't need the slash. But
Oops.
Unless this
Go.
file is later on going to run on Salesforce and then we need
It's not. So let's just remove that because we're definitely not going to put this on Salesforce. So there you go. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, we want to have an on-click here. And we're going to call this send message. Okay. There's be some JavaScript function we're going to call. And we're going to have a script even. Right, so we're going to have a function called send message. Anyone have any ideas as to what this is going to do? So first thing we're going to do is add an ID to the text field. Someone give me a nice name ID for this.
text ID.
I can tell why I've not worked with Anup for a while on Redis code. So document.get element by ID, text ID. That's a terrible name even. Apologize for that. So is message, to be clear, but there we go. And then it's value. Yeah, get element by ID dot value. And we're going to just console.log that because I'm not that confident in it. I always put a lot of console log statements in things because I like to have a lot of information, especially if I'm working with JavaScript. One of the problems I have with Salesforce is that system.debug is not anywhere near as available as I would like it to be. So I'm always outputting stuff, and then it's much easier to delete things later on. So we got that, and now we're going to send an XHTML request. Let me just open this up. So again, this is one of these things that 99% of the time I will go away and Google how we send an AJAX request. So I have some pre-written snippet here because I'm not, again, good enough to remember that. So everyone here aware of what I mean by an AJAX request? Yeah, here's that. I'm not looking at you, so someone's going to have to shout yes or no.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So we're going to set the endpoint. So we're going to open. Oh, that's the way it's done. And it's going to be slash. What have I? Oh, it's post, isn't it? It's the method first. So post. So we use the method. We're going to send a post back to our server. The URL we're going to hit is slash. I know. Synthesize. Why not? Actually, we're going to be using synthesize on the Watson API later on, so let's not duplicate API names. Speak, why not? And that's pretty much all we need. Yeah, async. What have I done there? That's my settings that I've managed to magically open. So we're going to open that up. So there's some request header stuff we need to do here, isn't there? This is all the exciting things that set request header. that you never think about doing until you're writing this stuff? Does anyone actually remember any of these things off the top of their head? That's the right answer. If someone would have said yes, then they would have been given a laptop. All right, application JSON, and then that's, and stringify the message, don't we? Dot set, is it body? No, dot send even. JSON dot stringify. Good spot. Stringify, and then it's going to be message colon, and we're going to use input message. Right, I'm just going to check that that all seems to make sense. Let's just put that in. Right, so that all looks pretty good. Sending that, and then we can on the state change, on ready state change, blah, blah, blah. Function that comes back, and all that's going to do is just log out. This dot state. Status text, cool. That works. Or this dot status, let's just do. All right, so files updated. Anyone guess what we need to do next? Probably add our endpoint, as at the moment we're posting to nothing. So we're going to add app.post, and it's going to be /speak. That's what I think I called it. And then there's going to be another function, and we're going to do the request and the response again. And what we need to think about this time is we're actually getting sent some JSON, aren't we? So previously we were just getting a file and just sending a directory down. We want to process the body, so we're going to install body parser. And so we want to be npm install -- save. So body parser is what we're going to do first of all. Oops. And the other thing we probably want to be thinking about now is whilst we're getting npm to run, JSForce we're going to use. So JSForce is what we're going to use to connect to Salesforce in a minute. And I'm going to use .env, and I'll talk through that in a sec. So they're all saving. And so what we're going to do here is we've got our post. So we've got our function, we've got our request, and then we're going to start taking the message and sending it backwards and forwards. So let's just console.log, and it's going to be request.body.message. And let's just save things as they are here for now. And what I'm going to do is just run it, and we're going to check, we're going to check that we are actually capturing that message, okay? Before we start throwing things onto Salesforce, let's just at least check that things are working as we expect. So click the button there, and theoretically, we have nothing.
I think your value is an attribute, another function in your HTML.
I think my value is an attribute. Yes. I'm glad that someone is paying attention. I left that in there on purpose, but good spot. That's two of you that are allowed to stay. The rest of you, come on, buck up your ideas. All right. Send that over. Ooh, type error. Cannot read property message of undefined. Okay. So what do we think is happening here? Well done. So body parser needs to be in there. So for those who aren't sure as to why we're doing this, what we're doing is we're adding body parser so that what we can do is use it within our app to process the information we're getting back from in that JSON format. So if we go down here, so app.use, I think it's just body parser, and then is it app.use body parser? There's .json even. I think that should do us, maybe. Let's try. There we go. One message through. So we've got that coming through now. What we want to do is we want to actually be able to send this message over to Salesforce. So first thing to do, let's go into Salesforce and let's create a platform event. So everyone worked with platform events? No. Nope. Has anyone worked with platform events is probably the best question. 4 people, great. So whilst I'm setting one up, platform events are a fairly new feature from Salesforce. Someone can probably remember exactly when they were sent, when they were created, but I think they were released, what, middle of last year, something like that? Yeah. So platform events effectively are a messaging bus that is provided on Salesforce. So standard volume, you define them just as you would a custom object here. And super simple, you add a custom field. So we're going to add a field which is a text field. And we're going to call this field input. And we're going to give it a length of, I don't know, 100. That's the maximum sort of length we'll give it. We always want someone to send us an input as part of this message. And that's it. The big thing you'll notice here is that it's a _E, and I know that that's quite small. So _E instead of _C, okay? E for event, C for custom object. I think it's, what's big, X for external object, isn't it, as well? And I think, what's big object? Is it B? Something like that? We'll say B for now, why not? All right, there's another extension for big objects as well. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to build up this message object. The way you save to the platform event is if you're on platform, you have to publish something to the event bus. And the event bus is basically an in tray or a queue, for want of a better phrase. So what happens is you publish a message to it, and then all of the subscribers that are listening to that queue can pull the message off. So we're going to publish this message onto this queue. Now, any of the subscribers that listen to it could find it. We're only going to have one subscriber, which is Salesforce. But if we wanted to have other external tools or libraries that we're using it to deal with other volumes or something like that, they could all listen into it. Okay. So we have our message all set up, and what we're going to do is we're going to use JSForce to post to it. So JSForce is an open source library from a couple of guys in Japan, I believe, a couple of MVPs out there. And it is my favorite JavaScript library for working with Salesforce for definite. The reason being, it's just nice and simple to use. Like, it makes things seem, it works like I would expect to work. Like, it tries to make using Salesforce from JavaScript just like you would be doing if you were just using it from Apex. Cool. Okay. So JSForce is all set up. What we're going to do is we're going to go away and we're going to create our .env file now. So does everyone? So you know when I mentioned earlier on about the process.env here? Where was that? Around the port. So we're going to use our .env file. So I'm going to create a file called .env. And I'm going to put a space in properly. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a little file here for us that we're going to put in some information to help us with our debugging. So we're going to put in something like SF username. Sorry, when I say debugging, I mean with our connection. So the idea is we're going to have this temporary file here. We're not going to commit it to Git. When we push up to Heroku, that file is staying. Okay. On Heroku, we're going to set those config variables so that they persist on Heroku, they're stored in memory on Heroku, but they're secure. We don't want, obviously, go and hard code our login into our app. I think everyone pretty cool with why we don't want to do that? Good, okay, just checking. So I've got an integration user. I'm going to find a way of getting that integration user's details without showing you all of my passwords in a second, but we can do that. That is one thing that I've just realized we did not have set up on this, so we can do that. We'll do that in a second. So SF username and SF _password. And if you give me 2 seconds, I will find that, and we'll have to go in and grab it. London's calling. Ooh. London's calling integration user. You can see I've got previous year's ones here as well. So we're going to use an integration user because we don't want them doing everything and anything. Okay. As you can see, it's a super secure password, this. I hope everyone is taking note. But these environment variables now are being used locally for development. Normally when you're developing, you'll be using a test or a dummy user. In production, you'll then switch these environment variables on Heroku to the ones you actually want. So we're then going to load up that .env file. So we're going to have var.env equals require.env. And then we're going to do, I think it's .env.load. Yeah. And that's going to go away and just load up that file anyway for us, okay? So that's loaded up. We've got our connection now. And down here, what we want to do is we want to do connection.login. And we're going to give it our username. So we're going to do sf. So we're going to declare what those usernames are. So var user equals process.env.sf username. Same for password. Okay. And we're going to just use them. So we're going to log in with username, user even, password. And then once we've logged in, we're going to have a callback. So it's going to be our function. And we're going to get a result or an error or some user info. So we can see here, we're not going to use either of those, but it's good to have. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new S object. So we're going to create our message, so connection.sObject. S-object, they spelled it as. Checking. Sorry, 1 second. So has anyone used JSForce before out of interest? So this is brand new to a lot of people. So again, as you can see here, this is nice and simple because we're going, it is message_e we've got, isn't it? Yep. So we're going to create our message. Okay, so it's the type of object we want to create. And then we go .create, unsurprisingly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give it a variable, which is going to be message input, which is going to be the item we want to create. Okay, so input. So back up here, what we're going to do is on this post, we've got this body.message, and we're going to say var input message input. It's just going to be an object we're going to create, and the only things we're going to have on this is our input field, which is input_c. And so we're going to put input_c, and we're going to put in request.body.message. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone? Everything good? I'm going to take stunned silence as a yes. So we're going to create the message input, and then we're just going to save it. And that's it. So yeah, we're going to get a result back. So get a promise back. And then if we're getting, so I'm just going to do function result and output the result. So everyone clear as to what is going on at this point? Okay, cool. So this is the most, I'm going to say, boring part of the demo we're doing here, because a lot of this is just setting stuff up and routing. But hopefully what will happen is when we launch this, I'm missing semicolons. Where am I missing semicolons? Oh, there. Yeah. Oops. So let's run that. Okay, this .initialize is not a function. Where are we going wrong, do we think then? So it's on the connection. So do you see here it says line, so lib.jsforce connection 167, this .initialize. So index.js line 9. So jsforce.connection is where things are erroring. So something is going wrong in the way we're initializing JSForce. Nope. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to create an object instance, and what I've done is I've just referred to it as a function. So, stupid thing, this is why I've pre-written this before and I've got it to check, but that was what's going on. So let's go back here to our message, And we're going to go refresh this quickly, test again, and then everything should go all the way through. And if we look down here, it's come out as test again, and it maybe has sent the message. Probably has not, though, at the moment. So what we could do is let's just go over to our platform events, refresh, and interestingly here, what they'll give is they'll give out information about the last one that's published and subscribed. So nothing has been sent. Okay, so we haven't sent anything. Why do we think that we haven't sent anything? I think, if I'm correct, we need to go into the profiles for my integration user, which is somewhere down here and is inventively named integration. And if we have a look at platform event permissions, they can't do anything with it. So, first thing I always check, permissions. 99.999% of the time, it's because you can't do the thing you're trying to do. So, let's try that again. And can you see down the bottom here, we have an ID back. So that is our message. So we have now taken our message and posted it over to Salesforce. Ooh, indeed. Thank you, Anup. So that is all of the exciting Node.js stuff done for now. So we can commit this and push this up to Heroku if we want. So let's git init, git. We do need a proc file. And it is just proc file. And my recollection is that we just need to say web in node index.js. So a proc file is a file that is used by Heroku to know how to run your application. Okay, nothing more complicated than really just a simple config file that's used there. All right, so we're going to add our proc file. We're going to add our index files. We're going to add packages. Why not? And I think that should be us. Oops. Yeah, we don't want env going in, obviously, because that's all of our secret stuff. And we don't want node modules because Heroku will install them. So we're going to do a commit. With a useful commit message, including an illegal character, apparently. I get too excited writing commit messages. This is the problem. Right. So that's been created, and what we're going to do is we're going to do Heroku create. So it's going to create a new Heroku app for us. Young Basin. That's a name, isn't it? I'm going to copy that across, and we'll load up Young Basin in a sec.
Your new name.
If that's what you want to call me. We haven't even had a drink yet, man. Come on. So we're going to do git push Heroku master. And that's going to go away and push up all of our code from the local repository up there. And then the last thing we need to do is to use our Heroku command line to set the config variables. So while that is happening, I'm going to copy these. So it's Heroku, I think it's config set. If I remember correctly, someone who is bound to be more knowledgeable than me will probably tell me if I'm wrong here. Super. All right, so that's all set. So if we go over to Young Basin now, we have it, and let's hope that we can send a message. Well, we'll test that out in a minute. So all of the Heroku stuff's done now, nice and hopefully not too painful. We're about halfway through this, so we've not got long left. So let's start trying to put together what we can do in Salesforce quickly. So what I'm going to do is at this point, I'm going to use one I made earlier. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start just throwing a few bits and pieces over here just to help us with handling these items in the developer console. So feedback for Simon we need more time, or Paul needs to be better at doing this. So what do I call that trigger? Message handler. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're just going to build a trigger that handles our message. Okay, and all we're going to do is we're going to just put this out to some text-to-speech conversion class. I'm just going to create that now. And this is just some stuff that isn't that difficult to write. So apologies that we've actually run over long enough.
Push it to Git later on GitHub.
I can push this up to GitHub.
Thank you.
I know. So next year, we'll need an hour and a half, okay? Oh, God. He doesn't mean that, everyone. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to snip in the folder ID. So let's save these, and I'll tell you what I've done here. So this class, all this class is doing is it is going away. We haven't got our audio event yet, so we're going to need to create our audio event with a document field in a second. This class is calling out to Watson's text-to-speech API, okay? There's just a series of parameters you provide in, which is the text, and then we're going to provide in the speech, and that's pretty much it. Nothing overly complicated there. We'll hide this now, just for a second, and save all these together so we can just test that we are able to work, and it's getting a new document. Ooh, system.debug, message dot, what do we call it, input? Someone remember? Message.input. Cool. Okay, put that there. So that should save up now. Okay, so let's go through and send another message. And we're going to save this. It's going to hopefully fire up. Okay, let's see if the way we're going to be able to tell this is that folder I've created a second ago, we're going to have to switch back to classic to view folders. If we go into the documents, hopefully somewhere in the background, we have a new file called 2.mp3. And if we listen to this, let's listen to it before we decide whether or not to clap anyone. All right, do we hear that?
Hello, everyone.
Which is what we sent over. All right. You're all extremely kind. So, key things. Of course, yeah. Which is that. So, the trigger, all we're doing is handling the messages coming through like you would do any insertion of any record and sending them over. The class, what we're doing is we're having a future method. The reason being that we could get 200 messages through, or any number of messages, and we don't want to just be sending them all out synchronously and clogging down Salesforce. We're using name credentials for Watson, so something I created earlier, just put in the org was, again, a different username and password, because we want to keep these things secure and not share them everywhere. And then, we're just sending out a normal HTTP request and inserting our document. So we have 2 minutes left. I don't think we're going to be able to create everything in time, but I will definitely share it with you. So what would be the follow-up to this is, first of all, we would go in and create a Lightning component. That Lightning component would use commit-d just the same way as effectively Visualforce did to listen out for that platform event. We could subscribe to that same platform event on Heroku or any system that can use commit-d and the streaming API effectively. That's how all that works together. Hopefully, you found this useful, if not enlightening, shall we say, to see some code being written. This is the first time this has been done at London's Calling. Hopefully it's an idea you guys like. We would love some feedback on it. Myself in particular would love some feedback, aside from the fact that I can't type for a damn. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. And if you'd like to see more of these things next year, send in some ideas, and we can try and get some more, and maybe even get some work-along sessions rather than having everything be built up right at the end. So hope you found it useful, and I'll be around afterwards for questions, and we are bang on with 30 seconds left, I think. So thank you, everyone. Damn it.